We've got time.
So you had the energy to get him down to see us. He had the energy to perform. As part of the program, it's all about the energy and the information that he's receiving. So that day that he came down, he was given a bunch of information based on the information that he had given me. The fourth part of this program is contrast, obstacles. Would you say that that day he ran into an obstacle because he thought he was somebody different than maybe someone else had viewed him to be?
Oh, I think so. He's always been told, even as a young man, and I'll share with you that when he was a young man, he came to me and he said, I want to be a pitcher. And as a parent, I said, oh, no, please, not that. Because the pressure on parents when the kid's on the mound is there. I sometimes have to walk away for a while and just let him go at it. But I knew at that point that I did not have the wherewithal to teach him the right mechanics. I also know from being an athlete that to unlearn mistakes, things that coaches have taught you, is very difficult. So I said to him something that I thought was very important, and I wasn't trying to be mean. I said, young man, that's fine. We'll get you somebody. We'll get you a pitching instructor. Right. But if you ever complain once and you don't want to go, that's it. Right. And I wasn't trying to be mean or nasty. What I was expressing to him is, it has to be your desire. As a coach, I can tell when my boys come in, and I pick basketball players that are coachable. I pick boys that you can, that are willing to receive a message. You know, understand, some of our athletes, they don't want to hear anything. They already know it. And it's not that I don't want to waste my time with them, but I know they're not going to learn anything, and maybe somebody else can get through to them, and we just don't have the chemistry. The chemistry was there at that process. He ran into a brick wall that you put in front of him, maybe not intentionally, maybe inadvertently, maybe subtly. And he had to figure out, well, can I leap this? Can I get around it? How do I deal with this? And so, yes, the mental aspect of the challenge was there. But again, he was the one that told you what level he wanted to play. Right. And your response was, okay, we can get there. Showtime. Yeah, right. It's showtime, but we got work to do.
Well, the fourth part, and we talked about this before, is sometimes athletes get very down on themselves, especially ones that want to succeed. And we talk about it at length in the video. But can you relate that maybe to what you've gone through playing sports and coaching as well as your son?
Oh, sure. Throughout my history, you'll see articles that say, you know, that this is a guy who understands the game. He knows the mental aspect of the game. And, of course, I was always tall. So I was
big help in basketball.
Big help in basketball. So I was always the tallest guy, oftentimes pushing on guys that were bigger than me. But yeah, those mental challenges and how do you get around them. I remember I played against a guy at Great Valley who ended up going to the pros. He was 7 foot tall, and for the first time, I'm 6, maybe 7, and I'm giving up all this height to a guy who's 7 foot tall. And how do you play that guy? And I remember hand checking him because I figured, hey, I should be able to physically push him a little bit, otherwise he's going right over the top of me. 3 quick fouls, sitting on the bench, not able to help my team because I did something stupid. I was a little too aggressive at that time, figuring, you know, this is literally David against Goliath in my mind, and how do I play him? And so you have to be able to recover. You have to be able to say, okay, I got 3 fouls, but I'm going to go in and play as hard as I can. With my son, it's really difficult because as parents, what do we want to do? We want to protect these people, but we can't. We can't totally protect them. We got to let them go and make the mistakes and hit the challenges. Today we were at a workout session, and it wasn't nearly as good as 2 weeks ago. And my son's, you know, figured, well, you know, I dropped down in my level. I was here, and now I'm here. No, he didn't. He hasn't thrown for 2 weeks. And when he remembers the mechanics, when you're working on how do you clear your mind of that last pitch. Okay, I couldn't hit the backstop. You know, I missed it totally. How do I clear my mind? That's a real challenge. And I don't know that there's a single answer for anybody, but I will say I think you got to find kind of almost your happy place, your comfort zone, where you say, okay, I don't hear all the chatter anymore. I'm not hearing the parents. I'm not even hearing my coach too much. I'm in this quiet moment. And you have to learn techniques. I mean, you know, maybe it's, okay, now I'm visualizing, you know, and as an athlete, I know you know what I'm talking about. How do you do that? Okay, here he comes. He's 7 foot tall. Here he comes. I'm going to guard him. How do I get set? Okay, I can hear a pin drop almost as they're coming at me. But I'm ready, and I take them on.
We call it in sports getting into the zone. And when people are in the zone, the pitch baseball looks big, it looks fat. When you're in the zone, you drain everything in basketball. Did you ever go through that? Did you ever find yourself in the zone and then other times where you weren't anywhere near it? And why do you think that happened?
Well, I can't tell you exactly why it happened every time. I think my sense is that you respond, obviously, to positive energy. There's no question about that. And I do remember, you know, one particular game, I must have had 10 points in 2 minutes. I mean, just reeling them off to the point where the guard on the other team says, "We got to get him," and he's pointing at me. "We got to get him. You get him." His teammate takes an elbow, pops me right here in the gullet. I grab my tongue because I think it's going down my throat, and almost crushes my voice box. I mean, it was a dirty play, but I kept coming at him. That just made me angry, and I just went, and I think I scored 18 points that game. I mean, I was just on fire. I remember another game in college. We were up in Cleveland, and the team stunk, and I hit every shot in warm-ups to the point, and I was only a freshman, so I wasn't going to get a lot of playing time. I'd even close my eyes, and the ball still went in. And I'm thinking, "Coach, you're an idiot. Put me in, because I'm making everything that day." And then there were other days where there were just bricks. Why? I think, number one, when something goes bad, the question is, do you continue to fall down that line? Do you continue to say, "Well, that was bad, and now this is bad"? A lot of us develop superstitions. "Oh, I'm not going to change these socks. You know, I'm wearing this sinky socks." That's all garbage, though. What it really is some days you have it, quite frankly, some days you don't.
Right.
You're going to go out there and pitch one day, and you're not going to be able to hit the strike zone, and you just didn't have it that day. I think if you get your mechanics down and your fundamentals down, they'll always be there, and you can always find things that you can do as part of a team sport that will help your team.
Right.
And you have to focus on those. You have to say, "Okay, I can't make my jumper today, but I can play defense."
My father used to tell me, you know, success is the residue of preparation. As a player yourself, as a coach, watching your son play, how important is the preparation, your physical body, for what you're about to experience in an athletic endeavor?
There is no question, in my mind, all the great athletes that I've seen have one thing in common, and that's tremendous flexibility. They also have good core strength. So they did things along their career to keep those things healthy and strong. And then there's the mental edge, of course. But those preparation, those items of making sure the fundamentals in whatever sport you're playing are sound, will always take you to the next level. At that point, it's just a question of who wants it more. You and I are equal. Okay, I want it more. Well, that's the edge. But first, we got to get equal. If I'm not equal to you physically, and I'm not prepared to take you on in battle, you're going to bowl me right over.
Right.
And so it becomes, and I think every coach probably has said this, you play as you practice. Well, what does that mean? You know, that means...
Being a state senator, you have a lot of obstacles that you have to work through. Your son on the athletic field in school. Do you have a vision that you, growing up, utilized to get you where you want to be?
I do. I believe, first of all, I believe that every time, you know, a door closes, a window opens somewhere, you know, it's an old expression. I think you have to, when you go through life, you may have ideas. I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Okay.
When did you know that?
I probably knew that at about 10 or 12.
So as a carpenter gets the sawdust in their sleeves, you knew right then and there what you wanted to be.
I knew that that was something I was very interested in. It was interesting that I went to many seminars when I was in high school, you know, where people come in and tell you about being a lawyer, and they always emphasize the things that you need to be a strong writer, you need to do this, you need to do that. And if you can't do this, you can't be a lawyer. And I thought that was a very negative message.
Would it be safe to say that without a strong vision, it's very difficult to have the discipline to get there, because you're not going anywhere, you're usually falling into someone else's game plan?
Well, sure. If you don't know where you're going and you don't have a sense, I just think your plan has to be flexible enough that if something doesn't work out, that you can move over into another direction. But yeah, you have to have a sense of where I'm trying to go. Again, we'll go back to that first encounter my son had with you. He said, I want to be a Division I baseball player and maybe pro baseball. I got to tell you, I've heard that. I've probably heard every kid say, I want to be a pro baseball player, pro basketball player. And you think as a coach, yeah, well, you know, you may not have that ability, but we'll see. That was the first time I heard him verbalize that to someone else. And that's when I realized as a father, he's serious.
Right.
This is definitely his desire. Now, how does he get there? Well, we're going to find out.
You mentioned how you had a vision, you were passionate about your vision, but you ran into circumstances where you had to deviate maybe to the left or to the right. At what point, what tells you when to detach from a situation? What do you use? What compass do you feel? Is your emotions? What is it?
I try to live by a rule generally, and this will sound a little cliche-ish. Can you look yourself in the mirror when you come home? And I'm not one to really stare at the mirror, so, you know, but can you look yourself in the mirror? Do you like what you see? And if you don't like what you see, then somewhere along the way, you headed down the wrong path. We'll put up votes in Harrisburg. I'm getting emails, even on the weekend. Vote for this, don't vote for that. And it's not even one topic. It's 10 or 15 topics, and it's all swirling in my head. And somehow between now and Monday, when those votes start coming up, I have to do two things. Number one, I have to decide what's the wheat and the chaff. You know, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense from an argument point of view.
Right.
Number two, then, I'm going to have to decide, where do I want to be? Where do I need to be? And is it the right place to be?
Right.
Does it fit with my moral compass, with my sense of what is right and wrong?
Okay.
And then I've got to just decide that I did it, and I can't worry about the consequences. You know, I could sit there and say, oh, well, maybe if I do this, I even know it's right,
Right.
I won't get reelected. So what?